Writing your first code in Python is pretty simple from that of Java or any other programming language. So in this throughout this whole course we'll be using Python 3, and Python 3 has some syntax different from that of Python 2. So we will just go through that later in this video, but now let us have a look on how Python is different from other programming languages. So for example, this is a line of code. Yes. So this is a line of code which will print this line. This line is to be printed. Alright, so this is written in Python 3, where we enter a command print, enter a code named print, and here inside the bracket, inside double quotes, we will enter the line which is to be printed, which will be printed. Alright, so this is how we write print this, and it will be printed in your command line. So in Python we don't need to compile the program in order to execute it, whereas in other languages like Java we need to compile it and then we can execute the program to get the output. So first it is the source code and then it gets compiled to bytecode and then we get the output. But in this case it is not like that. In Python you just write your code, go to command line, and you just execute the code and get the output. But in case of Java, as you can see here, we need to write the class here, we need to write a function, and inside that function we need to enter arguments, and then we write this statement system.out.println, and here inside that we enter hello world. So just to print this hello world we need to write all these lines. We need to write approximately 5 lines, and in Python we can print that using a single line. So let's see how that works in Python. So I'm using Sublime Text as a text editor. You can use any IDE like PyCharm or something like that. You can choose an IDE of your choice. I am using a text editor called Sublime Text, which is free of cost, and I have shown that how to download and install Python and Sublime Text. So make sure you watch that video. I will leave the link to the playlist in the description below. So now let us go to the directory where I have saved this hello world.py, and here I have saved this hello world.py, and now I will open command prompt here by entering cmd and hit enter. And now in order to run a Python code, in order to run a Python file, you need to type in Python space file name. In this case the file name is hello world.py. So in order to run a Python file you need to write Python space the file name .py with the file extension, that is .py. So if you have two versions of Python installed, in case if you have Python 2 and Python 3 both the versions installed, and if you want to run a Python 3 code, you need to type in here Python 3. After Python you need to type in 3 if you have two versions. In my case I don't have two versions installed on my system, so I will just go for the command Python filename.py. Alright, then you need to hit enter, and you can see the code has been executed, the file has been executed, and you can see this line is to be printed. So this is the purpose of this program. So now let's see the difference between Python 2 and Python 3. So you can use any version of Python 3, that is Python 3.x, and we'll be using Python 3 point something in this video throughout this course, and the previous version was Python 2. So there is a huge syntax difference between Python 2 and Python 3. So let us have a look into that. I will leave the link to this post, to this GFG blog post in the description below, so make sure you check that out. For example, in Python 2 you don't need to enter any bracket here, and the code would successfully execute. And in Python 2 you just need to enter the division, enter anything, enter print some like print 7 by 5, and you will get the output in integer format. Yes, in integer format. And in Python 3 you will get it in float format. Alright, so now you can see this print hello geeks. There is no brackets here, so in Python 3 this syntax is invalid. Alright, whereas in Python 2 this is completely valid. In Python 3, in order to print something, you need to write print inside bracket, and inside bracket you need to have quotes, and inside that quotes you need to type in quotes, and inside that quote you need to write what is to be printed, and then you can execute the file, and then Python 3 will execute it and print the thing written in here. And if it is not the case, if it is print hello geeks or print anything like this in this syntax, then it will then Python 3 will give an error like this: syntax error, invalid syntax. So there are numerous kind of syntax errors, syntax difference in Python 2 and Python 3. You can go through this post to know what is the difference. So now there are different kinds of modules in Python with different kinds of purposes. In order to install a module, what you need to do is you need to type in the command in your command line or CMD or Windows PowerShell. To type in the command pip install followed by the package name or the module name. So in this case we will install request here. Here pip stands for preferred installer program, and install is what we will install, that is the command pip install and followed by the module name. So in this case we will install requests module from Python for Python. So as I have said, for the Python command, so if you have two versions of Python installed, you need to specify which version of Python you want to use. So in this case we'll be using Python 3, and I have only single version of Python here. I have only Python 3 installed on my system, so in this case we'll just use the command pip install request and hit enter. Now as you can see, it is downloading the resources, collecting requests and downloading the resources from the source, and now you can see successfully installed. So now it has successfully installed request module on my system, and now I can import request and use it in my Python code. So in this video I have shown you how to run a Python code, how to write your first program, how to download and install a Python module, and we will also see some websites that are very useful to debug errors and debug any kind of errors which you face. So for example, if you get an error, what you can do is you can just copy the error and you can paste it in Google and you can just find out the errors. So this is how self-taught developers find solutions to errors. So let me show you some of the best websites that most of the developers and programmers use to solve their errors. The first website which any programmer ever will recommend you is Stack Overflow. So this is the website which pops up when you search for any kind of programming errors or any kind of programming related queries. So this is the first website that will pop up, and this is the website where you will get most of the answers related to, most of the solutions related to any kind of programming error. And the next thing I want to tell you is, if you copy a code from anywhere, for example, you need to copy a code, or you need to just look into a code or edit a code for some project, and that code is written in Python 2 and you have learned Python 3, in that case you need to you need to upgrade the code into Python 3. That's why I have told you the difference between Python 2 and Python 3, so that you can easily identify which one is Python 3 and which one is written in Python 2, and accordingly you can compile and write the code. So this was all about today's video. Please do like and share this video, and subscribe my YouTube channel for regular updates related to technology, cybersecurity and ethical hacking. And this course is on continuation, so make sure you check out the playlist to get updated with the course. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for the next one.